Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of the Sunday Wire. You know, we've seen some strange things over the years, but nothing as strange as this. Since we've been on the air, like a real proper official denial by the White House, a proper real-time cover-up as it happens. And so blatantly obvious, nobody has seen anything this obvious before. Or as Trump would say, nobody's seen anything like it before. Quite frankly, nobody could have done it but me. Actually, he's correct. Nobody could have done this but Trump. It's just really over the top. Epstein. Epstein who? Epstein who? That's been memory hold this week. We'll talk about that during this first segment. We'll also talk about that during Overdrive with our teammates from Alternate Current Radio and the Boiler Room. I think we'll be joined by Hesher, Ruckus, hopefully Basil Valentine. So, you know, Epstein, who is he? Who is he? As Trump would say, why is everybody talking about Epstein? Who is this guy? I hardly knew him. I mean, so pathetic. And as a result of this cover-up, as a result of Donald Trump just completely trying to, you know, disown, whitewash, rewrite history, not very convincing. Obviously, the MAGA base is falling to pieces. This is the end of MAGA Camelot. It's over. If you notice something about Trump's body language, you know, he's not himself anymore. When he's with the press, when he's caught off guard or on a hot mic or on Air Force One, he's very evasive. He's not his confident, strident self. He has painted himself into such a corner. And it's only been 4 months, just over 4 months. So this is so fast. This has happened so quickly. We're not even a year into his term. So if it's going this bad now, I'm going to ask the question, is he going to make it to the end of this term? And, you know, with all the messing around with all of this and basically Trump raiding his House seats and Senate seats in order to fill cabinet positions, very bizarre. He's always done this, by the way. We told you why before, but some people listen, some don't. So he's raiding safe Republican House seats to find people to stick in cabinet positions that, quite frankly, anybody could do. But that's not why that's happened. It's happened because all of the people in the House and Senate are owned by the Israel lobby from day one of their career. The first check they get, if they're regarded as potentially talented and useful, which is most people on the Democrat and Republican side these days, the Israeli lobby will move in. And they'll move in with money. They will mentor them. They will look after them. In the event that whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter. They back everybody. And so they have long-standing relationships. Thomas Massie obviously revealed this in his Tucker Carlson interview last year, that everybody has an IPAC handler, an IPAC person, American Israeli Public Affairs Committee. This is an unregistered foreign lobby, and it's allowed to be unregistered in America because they get special treatment. So they assign a handler to each and every congressperson on both sides of the aisle to make sure that anything national security related, Middle East foreign policy related, this is not just restricted to Israel, like direct Israeli policies. This is everything in the Middle East, everything, whether that's to do with Syria, whether that's to do with Turkey, whether that's to do with Egypt, whether that's to do with Yemen, Iraq, Iran, of course, the Gulf states, and of course, Palestine. Every single person will vote or direct policy in a certain direction on behalf of the Israeli lobby. So this is why Trump selects his to fill important cabinet positions like CIA director, 2 in a row from the House of Representatives. People with no real qualifications. Maybe they sat on a committee here and there. Maybe they sat on the Intelligence Committee. Okay, they're not career intelligence people, but what they are is owned by the lobby. Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor. What's his qualifications to be National Security Advisor? Didn't strike me as any impressive thought leader in national security. No, but he's owned by the Israeli lobby, House of Representatives, into Trump's cabinet. Elise Stefanik, UN ambassador, Republican House, New York State. Why on earth would anybody, if you cared about keeping the House, if it was really about keeping a Republican majority, you wouldn't be stealing people out of career-safe seats, especially in New York, in order to stick them into a position that's basically a teleprompter reading exercise, or literally reading off talking points from the Israeli lobby or from whatever the administration is. That's what the UN ambassador does. That's what Nikki Haley did. That's what John Bolton did, et cetera, et cetera. So they went for Stefanik. Why? She's an Israeli loyalist to the core. Flies over to Tel Aviv, touch the wall, the whole 9 yards. Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth. Well, he wasn't in the House, but he was a second-rate Fox and Friends weekend host. Not very impressive, not qualified to head the largest defense department in the planet. No. But what was he? He was an Israeli loyalist and a hardcore Zionist, an ideological fanatic, a religious fanatic. Pete Hegseth went to Israel to campaign for the rebuilding of the Third Temple, the end times narrative. A religious fanatic, second-rate Fox host, not even an anchor. Highest rank as a National Guard reservist or something like that. I don't know. It's major. Served at Gitmo, guarding Afghan goat herders and taxi drivers. Okay, let's put him in charge of the Pentagon. Passed up all the 4 or 5-star generals that were perfectly qualified to do that job, or people that are just way ahead of Hegseth, but he was an Israeli lobbyist. Mike Pompeo, House of Representatives, Kansas, CIA director, and then moved him into Secretary of State. Marco Rubio, safe seat in Florida, seat for life. You don't give that up. Why would the Republicans give that up? Why would they jeopardize a seat like that? Why? Because Marco Rubio is owned by the Israeli lobby. Paul Singer, all these billionaires bankroll people like Rubio and others. So I'm looking at these cabinet picks, and it's Israel, Israel, Israel. And so it doesn't take a genius to work out, and this has also been said by others, I think accurately, that Donald Trump was given a short list of cabinet picks that were approved by the Israeli lobby, approved by Miriam Adelson, approved by Benjamin Netanyahu. So Israel selected the cabinet of the President of the United States. Anything to do with national security or foreign policy. Number one qualification must be an Israeli loyalist or an ideological Zionist to qualify for a cabinet position. Tammy Bruce, what is she, the State Department spokesperson or something? I mean, it's embarrassing. Hardcore Israel firster. This is crazy. This is a country the size of New Jersey, a European colonial settler project the size of New Jersey in the Middle East. And it selects the U.S. cabinet. So Donald Trump is owned and operated by a foreign country. And who makes policy? Well, the cabinet does. Officials do. That's who makes policy. Why is Marco Rubio sanctioning Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on occupied Palestinian territories, because she released a report that exposed all of the corruption and this genocide economy that includes a lot of big tech firms like Google, Palantir, and others, Microsoft, who are profiting off this political economy that's based on ethnic cleansing and genocide. So Rubio sanctions him. Rubio then attacks students. Rubio attacks the First Amendment in the United States. Rubio's deporting legal U.S. residents for criticizing Israel. How is this acceptable on any level? Why do Americans have to sacrifice the U.S. Constitution to pacify a foreign country, the interests of a foreign government? Because they don't like students in the United States protesting against a Holocaust. It's bizarre. Who would carry out such a henchman operation there? Who would do that? Somebody like Marco Rubio, a complete political prostitute. Unbelievable. So freedom of speech and assembly, this administration, Donald Trump, has attacked the First Amendment. And he's used his henchmen like Marco Rubio do the dirty work for him in public so that he can kind of, stay one step removed from it. But it's shameful behavior. And it is literally undermining the foundations of the constitutional republic of the United States of America. That's not an exaggeration. And it's being done by a foreign government, by a foreign lobby that pumped 600 million into Republican campaigns during the 2024 election cycle. 250 million of which went into Donald Trump's campaign. $250 million into the Trump campaign. It's not like Trump couldn't afford to run for president. He didn't need the Israeli money, but he took the Israeli money. Maybe he didn't have a choice. Maybe they made an offer he can't refuse. Is that what we're dealing with here? A mafia? Certainly looks like it. So a foreign mafia and domestic mafia working as one, Israeli mafia, whatever you want to call it, Jewish nationalist Israeli mafia, are corrupting our political system, buying off all our politicians in order to make decisions in the express interest of their foreign state, even if that means going against the U.S. Constitution and taking rights away from Americans, like freedom of speech, not allowing students to express themselves on campus, something that they've been able to do in the United States of America forever. And it's one of the really unadulterated places for free speech, should be on a university campus. And shameful to see all the MAGA crowd cheering that on. The same MAGA crowd who claim to be, quote, conservative, who are all screaming and crying about the so-called radical left demanding safe spaces on campuses just a few years ago, and basically railing against identity politics of LGBT and this trans and this and that, Black Lives Matter, crying that we demand free speech on college campuses. These same Republicans are now neocons demanding that there not be free speech on campuses because they're saying it's, quote, anti-Semitic. So protesting against an ongoing genocide, which the U.S. is arming and funding, which is killing hundreds of thousands of people. If we go by the latest, 377,000 dead or missing Forget about that 60,000 number. It's passé, irrelevant. So if you pose that, these clowns are going to accuse you of being anti-Semitic. And I say clowns because that's what they are. These people are clowns. People like Charlie Kirk and all these other carnival barkers that are, I don't know if they're funded by the lobby or where their money comes from, but they seem to have an agenda. And it's all backfiring on them this week. So Benjamin Netanyahu came to Washington. And so Bibi comes to Washington. Every time Bibi comes to Washington, something bad happens. So this is a wanted war criminal who's allowed to travel to the United States. And here he is, basically at a kind of round table, lunch, dinner, or whatever. It's embarrassing. Everyone's gushing on the U.S. side. Trump has his team assembled. He's a very insecure president because he can't do anything or host anything without having his wall of, show of force with him, which is Rubio, Hegseth, the CIA director. I mean, never has a CIA director had to do so many public appearances. That's all this is performative. They're not actually doing anything but executing the wishes and policies and objectives of Israel. That's the entire U.S. foreign policy rotates around Israel's interests. Everything, every military position, every policy has Israel at the center. Take a look closely and you'll know that what I'm telling you is absolutely 100% true. But anyway, Netanyahu showed up, and we have this video here, which is beyond cringe. I'll let you listen. So Netanyahu, after they're done patting each other on the back and singing each other's praises, Netanyahu offers Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, pretty incredible stuff. Listen to this.
We're going to have a lot of great results, so it's great to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to express the appreciation and admiration, not only of all Israelis, but of the Jewish people and many, many admirers around the world for your leadership of the free world, your leadership of a just cause, and the pursuit of peace and security, which you are leading in many lands, but now especially in the Middle East. We have great opportunities. The President has an extraordinary team, and I think our teams together make an extraordinary combination to meet challenges and seize opportunities. But the President has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, Bibi.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor. We're going to have a lot of great...
I mean, Trump's comment at the end was very telling. And I don't think people picked up. He said, coming from you in particular, this means a lot. I don't know if Trump was making a joke there, saying how ridiculous it is that Netanyahu, in some way, you wonder if Trump, just despises Netanyahu. This is one of the most evil people on the planet. So just understand the historical context. Netanyahu will go down in history in the pantheon of evil actors. Right up, he's past Idi Amin. He's way past all that. He's right up there with Adolf Hitler in terms of what he has done, the callous disregard for human life, the sadistic, depraved way they're executing their disgusting so-called anti-terror operation, which is a Holocaust in Gaza. There's no other way to describe it. We've never seen horrors like this in our lifetime. My generation, the previous generation didn't see it either. This using the full force of a modern 21st century military against an unarmed civilian population, killing women and children, men, boys, at levels consistently for the last 21 months that nobody has ever seen before, and doing it in a kind of systematic, industrialized way. I mean, it's pretty incredible stuff. So Netanyahu has the front to come to the United States, and anyone can nominate anybody a Nobel Prize. You know, if you're of sufficient standing of a head of an organization or a politician, even, I'm not sure, but there are certain qualifications. You have to be of some kind of official standing, then you can nominate for a Nobel Prize. So anybody can nominate Trump for a Nobel Prize. I'm going to nominate Francesca Albanese, the one that the U.S. is sanctioning. She deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. She has worked tirelessly, has been criticized, canceled, and now sanctioned. Nobody deserves it as much as she does. If anyone does deserve it, she does. She is exemplary in her efforts and sincerity and her duty as a human. That's what Francesca Albanese is doing. So Trump just waged an undeclared war of aggression against the country of Iran. Iran never attacked the United States. Not only did they wage an undeclared war of aggression, which is in direct violation of the UN Charter and the laws of war, every international legal line or treaty it violates, and they attacked nuclear facilities, which is hugely risky for the population in Iran and regionally. I'm talking about radioactively and other environmentally. They didn't care. He said, no, we're going to wipe out their civilian nuclear program. So this, at the same time they're sanctioning them, trying to restrict their sale of oil, then they take out their independent civilian nuclear power plant with no evidence that Iran has any nuclear weapons or is working on one, other than Israel told us that Iran was days away. That's the intelligence that they've laundered. And Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, although she said the U.S. intelligence assessment at the end of March was that Iran wasn't, that was the official position of the intelligence community, all 17 agencies, Iran wasn't working on a bomb and wasn't planning to. And so she's sitting there like a Stepford wife with the Trump administration, keeping her mouth shut about the fact that they're not using U.S. intelligence in Washington. They're going by what Israel's telling them, which are probably or certainly fabricated, made up, because they wanted the U.S. to attack Iran so that Iran could stop attacking Israel after Israel waged an undeclared war of aggression against Iran. Israel started an illegal war. Iran counterattacked, totally smashed Tel Aviv to pieces. And then Israel's crying, oh, no, U.S., can you do this? Here's some fake intel. Launch an airstrike on them. Make it stop. Make it stop. We didn't realize the Iranian missiles were so powerful. Make it stop. And now we're in the cycle of conflict. And Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize for what? Not only that, if you want to go for other violations of international law, the Trump administration, Trump 1.0, started a new war in Syria by occupying 25% of Syria militarily and using their Kurdish proxies, the SDF, to do it. Okay, totally illegal. They stayed there through the Biden administration, and they're staying there through Trump's second term. Stealing the oil, stealing the resources of Syria. So to deny the population during the Assad government's reign, while they're sanctioning Syria, they're stealing their oil and gas and water and hydroelectric capabilities and agriculture. That's a war crime. That's an international crime of the highest order. And that's what Trump started in his first term. It's what Trump continues in his second term. Donald Trump doesn't deserve a peace prize. Far from it. Donald Trump is now a war criminal. He's right up there with Tony Blair and George W. Bush. He is a neocon. If he's not a neocon, he's controlled by neocons. Same difference. Let's not get hung up on semantics. And at home, he's attacking. He's an enemy of the Constitution, a domestic enemy of the U.S. Constitution. So he's a criminal at home and a criminal internationally. And these are the things that count. I'm not talking about the lawfare that the Democrats put him through. Most of which, if not all of it, was total BS. I'm talking about the stuff that really matters. In the U.S., it's undermining the U.S. Constitution. Internationally, it's violating international law. And worse, handing over your country's foreign policy to a foreign government that's buying off all your congressmen and senators with cash that you gave it in aid. It's filtering back to the lobby and then used to pay off U.S. politicians. I mean, so Trump is undermined U.S. sovereignty to such a huge degree. And it's backfiring on the U.S. And people recognize this. People know this is happening. So he's not doing himself any favors. But anyway, that's where it's at. And in the meantime, this story pops up. And we're just going to give, a little kind of starter here because we have a story that's, it's going to take a little while to unpack, but it's the Epstein story. And something funny happened on the way to Washington. And let's take a look at what that is. Jeffrey Epstein, the list, the blackmail operation, quite obviously it was a honey trap operation to blackmail high-profile people and politicians. I don't think that's not even debatable at this point. The story's been marinating for over 20 years. But something funny happened this week, and we'll show you what that is. The Justice Department suddenly says there's no client list, doesn't exist in the Epstein sex trafficking files. There was no blackmail. All the things that were more or less proven before, including in multiple court testimonies, court documents, very well documented. I could show you the client list and the flight logs. Ryan Dawson, neocon ANC report, Ryan Dawson, follow him on X. He published the whole list. So how can the government not have it? Of course they have it. They have the list. They have the tapes. They know everything. But they're burying it. It's a cover-up. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. Pam Bondi. How did she get into that position? That's an interesting question. We'll talk about that. We'll reveal that information in the next segment of Overdrive. Okay? She's in there to do exactly this. And we'll show you how that works in the next segment. So stick around after the break. But, there's a revolt within MAGA. So Trump faces revolt from his MAGA base over Epstein files. There's Dan Bongino, again, a former Fox host appointed as deputy director of the FBI. So him and Kash Patel looked like deer in the headlights the other week when they're giving an interview about this because they knew that the fix was in. These people said, they're going to release all the files and, wait till Trump gets in. So Trump campaigned on this. This wasn't incidental. This was part of his campaign. Elect me, and I will expose all the pedos and all the corrupt people on Epstein's list, and don't worry, and we're going to release the files. And Bondi did a whole performative thing a couple of months ago on the White House lawn, invited all these, Anon accounts and so-called journalists that are really just kind of conservative, not conservative, MAGA, Israel lobby mouthpieces like Libs of TikTok, DC Drano, and Mike Cernovich, and all these people stood up there with their, proudly holding up their files. We'll bring the image up in the next segment. And there was holding up this folder that said Epstein list or the Epstein files. There's nothing in it. Liz Wheeler, all these people, these sort of like kind of vapid podcasters. They're not journalists. Maybe they could be one day if they applied themselves a bit more to issues that actually matter. But they're really a cheerleading section for the Trump administration. That's why they were given, quote, access. But what they were given was nothing. What they were given was sweet FA. You know what I'm talking about. So we'll go on here. So not so long ago, this was the whole carry-on. We're talking about multiple trials. He's been sentenced back into federal custody. Mysteriously dies in his cell. We got more on that in the next segment as well, the missing minute. Turns out the missing minute was a forgery. A doctored video was released by the Trump administration. This is not looking. This is worse than bad. This is a cover-up that even previous administrations that did cover-ups couldn't possibly imagine was possible to do this so brazenly and out in the open. Anyway, so here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Metadata shows the FBI's, quote, raw Epstein prison video was modified. There's no evidence the footage was deceptively manipulated. They're being generous there, of course. But ambiguities around the video, how it was processed, further fuel conspiracy theories. So metadata with Adobe Premiere software and anomalies regarding timestamps. So, of course, it was doctored. What a sloppy job. But it's going to end up that way anyway. It's unavoidable. They're doing a cover-up. This sort of stuff is going to happen. There's going to be mistakes. They won't be able to fix everything. And basically what they're saying is, this is the establishment saying to the public, we know you know, but F you. What are you going to do about it? That's what this is. We know you know. There's reams of evidence. There's flight logs over here, testimonies over here, victims' testimonies, as long as the arm of Wilt Chamberlain. But they're saying, despite all that, F you, Joe Public. What are you going to do about it? And look at the Democrats cowering, quiet. They're not pushing back on this at all. Why? Because this cover-up protects some of the highest-ranking Democrats. So Trump's throwing the Dems a solid here. Bill Clinton's implicated. Bill Richardson's implicated. And many others. Some high-ranking Democrats, big tech lords, Bill Gates. These are the sort of people that are implicated. And although he denies it, Alan Dershowitz is up to his neck in it. He's throwing up all sorts of flotsam and jetsam this week as well, saying, oh, yes, this is a cover-up, this is a cover. He was Epstein's attorney. So he's throwing up misdirection, trying to basically save his ass, which is what Dershowitz ultimately cares about at the end of the day, that and Israel. So Pam Bondi, interesting. Where did she come from? And why did she arrive in the Attorney General's position? Well, we'll tell you how she arrived in the next segment, because it's a very interesting story. But you can't deny the fact Trump is saying, oh, I never knew the guy. I never knew. He was a creep. I didn't know him. Here he is, 2000, Mar-a-Lago. We have so much footage of Trump with Epstein. We don't have time to show it all. He knew him very well. He said he was a terrific guy. And now he says he's a creep. So we'll play you a video file of Trump was just asked about Epstein recently. We'll play you this video file because it's interesting. Watch this and listen closely. He's being asked point blank.
Sure. Your memo and release yesterday with Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for an American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of staff?
Yeah, sure. If
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things.
See, Trump is gaslighting here. Trump is gaslighting. You can see he's panicking. Trump is terrified. He's terrified. And look at the other two, both part of the servants of the Florida mob as well. Pam Bondi. Look at the body language of Bondi. She's leaning away. You see that? She's leaning away. Marco Rubio is basically just saying, I hope this is over soon. So get me out of here, says Spock. Says Spock. So, and Trump's basically saying, well, he's been talked about enough already. Why are we still talking about him? Because he's been talked about a lot over the last 15 years. That means we don't need to talk. We shouldn't talk about him. Like, what kind of a logic is this, Trump? Just because he's been talked about, that now the cover-up begins and now you don't want to talk about it? Famous female singer, name comes to mind. Barbra Streisand. Barbra Streisand. Donald, look it up. It's called the Streisand effect. You are trying to cover this up and you're doing such a piss poor job of it. And MAGA is fracturing because of what you're doing here, because you have painted yourself into an awful corner with your Israeli friends and family. Okay, that's the problem. You allowed a foreign government to take over. There's a word for that, but we won't say that on air. Let's continue.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
A desecration. I mean, Trump does have a way with words, especially when he's caught. When he's caught out, he basically panics and throws up some of the stupidest things you've ever seen. So, I mean, this is just beyond embarrassing. So he knew Jeff very well, and he knew Jeff Epstein for a very long time. For a very long time. So they were acquaintances. They probably had overlap in terms of financial business, I'm sure. So, I mean, for him to say that is just completely disingenuous. But
party show.
Let's. This is 1992. 1992. This is back when Jeff was in his prime, and Donald was a bit of a man about town. Donald Trump was a man about town. It's interesting, the stuff that's emerging now.
Of a Mar-a-Lago party shows Trump giving Epstein his personal attention. The footage, shot in November of 1992, before Trump opened the resort as a club, shows the future president surrounded by cheerleaders for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins, capturing Trump's fun-loving bachelor lifestyle for an appearance on Faith Daniels' NBC talk show.
We're going to get great ratings in your show.
Trump is surrounded by women as music blares in the background. After a while, Trump goes to greet 3 new guests, among them the financier Jeffrey Epstein.
Come on in. Go inside.
More than a decade before his guilty plea on state prostitution charges. Later in the footage, Trump is seen talking to Epstein and another man as women are dancing in front of them. Trump alternates between dancing and pointing out women to Epstein and the other man and telling Epstein about the cameras. Though exactly what they say is difficult to understand as they discuss the women and their appearances, Trump gestures to one and appears to say to Epstein, "Look at her back there. She's hot." And then Trump says something else.
What's with the eyebrows with Trump? I mean, it's really, as you can see, he hadn't sorted his hair out properly even back then. So, like, some things, I guess, don't change, nor do they go out of style. But, I mean, that's just one of many examples. We also have all this, the various pictures. And we have allegations from people like the vexatious Trump, diarist Michael Wolff. And so we'll bring back the images. So that's from 2000 right there. That's Trump, a young, dashing Melania. He's done well to pick her up, obviously. And then Jeffrey Epstein and the British-Israeli spy Ghislaine Maxwell. Isn't that interesting? Daughter of Robert Maxwell, super spy for the Israeli government. Was given a state funeral when he died. Former media mogul who is also moonlighting as an Israeli spy in Britain. So there's an overlap between British intelligence here. It's something that people don't really talk about, but it exists. So that's back in 92. There's Trump with the eyebrows. And then, so this is Michael Wolff. And look, I take a lot of this stuff with a pinch of salt because it's Michael Wolff. And he's clearly a fabulist. He's definitely in it for money. But somehow he's been given access in and around Trump and his inner circle. And some of this stuff is checked out. But so this is from the Daily Beast here. This is actually on the House of Representatives website in a PDF. And explosive tapes recorded by Michael Wolff show Epstein claiming Trump liked to shag his friends' wives. We'll use that term, shag. And slept with Melania slept with Melania, his current wife, on the Lolita Express. That's Jeff Epstein's jet. Epstein described himself as Trump's closest friend and claimed intimate knowledge of his proclivities for sex, including, I don't want to get into the language here. It's the Daily Beast. It's called the Daily Beast for a reason. But, Lolita Express. So Trump was on Epstein's jet. I think he even admitted he was. So the details of which remain murky. But all this stuff's kind of out there. And then so if we go for, if we look at Michael Wolff, and he's doing a lot of interviews now. And again, I take a lot of this stuff with a pinch of salt. But let's bring the Wolff segment up here, and we'll
said before that
we'll just rewind this here so we can get a look at it. So this is Michael Wolff. He's wrote numerous books on Washington, inside baseball, was given full access, from what I could gather, to the first Trump administration. Now, I wouldn't think so, but he's still basically milking Trump's inner circle for information and whatnot. So this is what he's saying here. Now, this is very incriminating. So take of it what you will. Has he been sued for libel? Not yet. That's also something here. Michael Wolff is still singing like a canary. Listen to this.
And I've said before that Epstein used to bring out this set of pictures. There were about a dozen snapshots, and among them, there are at least three that I remember. Two of topless girls sitting in Trump's lap around Epstein's swimming pool, and then one with a stain on the front of Trump's pants with three or four girls laughing and pointing at it. So I have seen those pictures.
So what's your best guess as to where they are?
Well, I'm my best guess is that Epstein kept them in the safe. The safe was emptied out by the FBI. Where are those pictures?
Wow. So again, I think that was on Vicky Ward's Substack. She's a journalist, one of the early ones reporting on this, as well as Nick Bryant at Gawker. So we're talking about 2012, going all the way back to that point as well. So, you have people have different opinions. Epstein experts, there's plenty of those around. They have different opinions on the veracity of some of these journalists and so forth. But you do see reoccurring themes popping up again and again. And so these are things that I don't think you can really ignore. And just to round out this, we'll bring out here, Trump is, there he is with the hands again. That's the T-Rex pose that Trump likes to do. That's the very defensive body language, by the way. So we've got the missing footage. There's a minute missing, as if by magic, but there's no cover-up. Nothing to see here. Move along. And then we've got other video footage. Maybe we'll show some more in the second segment. But where is this all going for Trump? There's Pam Bondi with Lindsey Graham. Do we need any caption for that? I think that's kind of speaks volumes there. Just take a look at that. They seem to be quite chummy. Yeah, be careful with the company that you keep, because it does define you to some degree. But what a sleazy place Washington is. So that's kind of what you're dealing with there, a hive of neocons. And, well, what can we say? Well, there's more. We got more on Pam Bondi, how she got the AG position, which should basically give the key to this whole scandal. Okay? We'll reveal that after the break, so you don't want to miss that. Stay with us. We'll be joined by our teammates, Hesher, Ruckus, maybe Basil Valentine on the other side. This is Patrick Henningsen. This is the Sunday Wire. Stay with us. And by the way, we are going to premiere a video right now. So this is, now we champion independent artists on this show. We have done for over 10 years. And we champion independent artists. And we have great independent artists. So this, I'm going to say this, and this might sound a little bit over the top, but this has to be the best music video I have ever seen from an independent music artist. I mean, I'm telling you right now, he told me he was making this video, and it sounded crazy. I didn't know what to expect. And it was crazy. It's come out crazy. This is a crazy, crazy, crazy video. It's called Lines in the Sky. It's about chemtrails. Whatever you believe or don't believe about chemtrails, I guarantee you, no matter what your view on this issue is, you're gonna love this video by Phil Zimmerman. Phil Zimmerman of Freedom for Flowers fame, Phil Zimmerman of Killing Granny at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, the great actor, great musician. This song is a banger. It's called Lines in the Sky. Lines in the Sky. It's on YouTube. We put a link on the show description and also to Phil's Instagram account as well. Lines in the Sky. This is the ultimate chemtrails punk rock song, and this video is something else. Honestly, I couldn't believe it when I saw it, but I'm going to let you guys see it right now. We're going to premiere Lines in the Sky on the Sunday Wire this week by Phil Zimmerman, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Enjoy.
Wonder why? These lines in the sky. a machine, addicted to apathy. Oh,